Whether you're married or single or poly or ace, or hanging out with swingers back at your place, listen to us as we give no fuck on Tinder and Bumble and plenty of yucks, trying and having no luck, because we all know dating kinda sucks. Sarah and Adam are two of a kind. He says stupid shit and she doesn't mind. They're not doing this show to make any buck. Life as a chicken whose feathers they pluck. Why does it work? Well, here is the crux. They both know dating kinda sucks. Dating kinda sucks.
Hi, I'm Sarah.
And I'm Adam Heath Avitable.
This is Dating Kinda Sucks, a podcast about dating, sex, and relationships. This week, we'll be talking about recognizing coercion and respecting consent. Enjoy the show.
And if you're watching us on YouTube, please go ahead and like and subscribe and turn on notifications so that every week you get to watch our faces for an hour and a half. And we appreciate all 14 of you.
Adam, where the fuck are you right now? It doesn't even look like you're in a real place.
I'm sitting on the floor in my Airbnb with my computer on the coffee table because it really seemed to be one of the only places the dining room table wasn't really working for me. Yeah, I'm in an Airbnb in Houston, Texas. Leave tomorrow morning. We're doing this on Wednesday, May 25th. Hey, did I actually?
Oh my God! Did you just do that? Wow, you questioned yourself.
But... It's only because my dad's birthday is tomorrow, so I'm actually paying attention to the date for once. And I have been here for a few days, and it's been interesting. I haven't really done.
Don't like Texas? No.
Well, Houston so far, just I met with a friend of mine who I hadn't seen her in almost 20 years, like 18 years when we lived in Los Angeles together, and she's here now. And she came out, and I was like, "So what is there to do in Houston?" She goes, "Nothing."
Really? I thought Houston was a big city, like top 3.
But she was like, when I have people come from out of town, I really don't know where to take them. Like, I just don't know. Yeah. And she's been here for several years. She told me about one museum that was really cool. And I was like, oh, that might be something if I actually end up leaving the house during the day, which has not happened yet all week. But
if you didn't do it in Vermont, you're not going to do it in Houston.
That's true. And it's been weird here. I'm in an apartment complex in an Airbnb, and I don't know if they know that he's renting it out as an Airbnb, just because it's kind of weird. But also, I think I accidentally threw him under the bus. When I first pulled in, they had these signs saying, you get towed if you don't have a parking pass. So I message him and ask him, and he says, "Don't worry about it. They're not towing." And then like an hour later, message me and says, "Oh, actually, let me just check. Just go ahead and park in visitor parking until I check." Well, fuck that. First of all,
fuck that. You're also paying, and I'm sure it said free parking on premises.
It did. And also I have everything I own in my car, and visitor parking is outside the gates. So I'm not just leaving my car there, but also this is one of those giant apartment complexes that has all these different building numbers that you have to drive around in a maze to try to figure out where where it is. You know what I'm talking about.
Weird spot. Do you book Airbnbs and not check what the outside of the building looks like? Because typically
I've never checked what the outside of the building looks like.
I always look to see if they have an outside of the building shot, because I've been put in situations where, this is shittier and not in as good of an area as I thought, even though the reviews were great, but they didn't have an outside shot. And then if you would have seen that, you would have seen it was in an apartment, and then you might not have booked it.
Well, I might have thought it was just a condo complex too, not necessarily, but I don't think I would have really thought about that. As long as, it seemed decent, and it was, Airbnb was guaranteeing it, but I think I accidentally threw him under the bus because I stopped. I'm like, fuck this. I'm not parking in visitor parking, and I'm not walking the quarter mile with my bags or whatever to try to get, to get into the place and try to, all that shit. So I just stopped at the visitor's office and I walked in or the leasing center or whatever. And I was like, hey, I'm an Airbnb guest in this, and I gave the apartment number, and I just wanted to check to make sure that I don't need a parking pass. And they said, "You're an Airbnb?" I was like, "Yeah." They're like, "For which number again?" And I gave it to them, and they're like,
"Yeah,
interesting."
Yep.
And then they're like, "No, you're fine. We're not towing until June, so you'll be good." How long are you staying? And I was like, just a week. And like, okay, yeah, you're good. So then it's been fine. And I messaged him and said, hey, I talked to the leasing office just to check, and they said I'll be fine parking, so don't worry about it.
And he didn't say, fuck you. You should have told
Yeah, he didn't seem concerned. So I'm not really
Huh.
sure, but this place is interesting. This did not have any feminine touches in this place. Like there's 4 towels and they're all like faded Walmart towels. There's, you know, 2 forks and a spoon and a plate, you know, and there's nothing on the walls. It's completely blank everywhere. It is definitely interesting, but I mean, it's been comfortable. I've been, you know, whatever, sleeping well, but otherwise it's weird. And I also usually my meals are DoorDash. I didn't get any groceries this time because I was just like, I didn't want to stop.
You
And
DoorDash every meal?
well, yeah, I usually only eat like one big meal a day.
Oh.
You know, I usually have a big lunch and then I might nibble something at dinner, you know, dinner time. And but DoorDash, because there's a gate to get in, I can't order DoorDash. So then I've just been like basically starving myself until I go out at night. And yeah, it's
Can you please buy some actual okay, also, how much did you spend per night in this place?
oh,
Is
it's
it was it
$80. It was a really good price.
okay, so that's why they don't
That's
have
why
any
that's why I
touches
booked
of
it.
anything. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but that's why he's new too. He had no reviews when I first booked it, and then
You don't know, then you do not even get to complain then. No, 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 no.
but you know,
that's risky business right there.
it's been all right though. It's interesting. I kept it a nice like balmy 62 degrees in here, so like the air, like you walk outside and like immediately like my sunglasses like frost over because of everything, but it's because it's been so hot here. But it's nice and cold in here, and it's dark, and I really can't complain about those things. So that's good. And I found a sports bar nearby that was a dive bar to beat all dive bars. Like the first night I
You
was,
don't say.
yeah, I think it was the first night I was here. I found it, went out there, sat down, and I was there from like 7 at night until midnight or 1 in the morning.
Was it the
And
morning that you were hungover because you stayed out till 3 in the morning?
no, that was the next day. This is
Okay,
the first
keeping
night.
it okay.
Yes, I was meeting up with friends who came out around like 11. They met me out there, but I was drinking all night. My bill was $35. I was like, I cannot complain about this.
They just
And
didn't charge you because they liked you or something.
I kind of think that might be because then the bartender told me to come back. So then I went back the next 2 nights, and on the third night, she's like, "Well, too bad you're not in Houston longer. Like, you got to come back into Houston and take me out on a date." So I do think that it's
Ooh.
yeah. And my bill that night was $17. So I think
And you didn't drink less than the night
I did
before.
not drink less. No, because that was the night that I was there and there was karaoke and there was nobody else. So I just sang, like I did like a dozen songs.
My mother follows you on Facebook and she
Yeah.
said something about, it's kind of sad that Adam was singing karaoke alone and, get him to have a crowd next time or something. And I was like, wait, I don't even check Facebook like that. I didn't know Adam was singing karaoke alone once
Yeah.
again.
I decided when there was nobody there to sing that I was going to set up my camera and record every song, and then I spliced it for a TikTok at like all like little clips of every song into one like minute video. And I mean, it was fun. I had a good time. But no, the bartender was singing as well, so she and I were basically sitting there hanging out because there's nobody else there except the karaoke DJ. It was that bit. And I stayed late that night and helped her like get the bar ready to close and all that stuff. I was there
So
till
you work there now. Got
I
it.
work there now. It's my new job. I'm gonna stay in this apartment till they kick me out and just go to that bar, and there we go.
What else? What else?
What else has been going on? I did have a date in Houston. That was a random, very random.
Did you tell them you aren't really trying to date and that it's probably a waste of both of your times?
Yes. We matched on Tinder, and she messaged me almost instantly and just started chatting, and then she's like, "What are you doing tonight?" And I said, "Well, I'm thinking of going to this bar. They do karaoke because I do karaoke on Sunday and Monday nights." So I was like, I went, this is
Different bar?
same bar. This is on Sunday. I'm like, I'm gonna go there on Sunday.
Okay,
And,
gotcha.
yeah. And so she's like, "Oh, well, I have nothing planned. I'll meet you if you want." So I was like, "Cool." So she came out and met me there, and we had a couple drinks, and we both sang a couple songs and just chatted. She's very nice and like, seemed very cool person to go out with, and she knew that I wasn't like in town for long. She just like, "I just wanted to meet you because I think we get along," and we did. And the only weird thing was that this is bizarre, and I'm like, sometimes I'm like, only me, but I think this happens to other people too. Was we were sitting there and she's like, "I have to be home by about 11 because she rents an apartment above the garage of her parents' place." So she rents like a place from her
So
parents.
they track her every move if she's out late type of thing.
Well, she has a daughter. So basically she brings her daughter into her parents' house when she goes out, so that her daughter just sleeps there, and then she'll come get her at night when she gets home. And she's like, so if I stay out too late, then my parents give me shit, and everything, because they're just, controlling. But also, yes, she's former Mormon, and I think that's a part of it too, is the Mormon
Okay.
trip. But they track her on some app. It's called like Life 360 or something like that. I don't know,
That
but
sounds awful.
yeah. Well, which is funny because my mother has Find My Friends on with me for my phone. So
Yeah.
she would like every now and then she'll be like, oh, I see you're still in Houston or whatever, because she'll pull it up
But
because
she's
she's
not
just
constantly looking at it all
no,
day,
no,
every day.
no. And I don't know that her parents were either, but apparently that Life 360 is an app you can also share with friends and things too. And so she has a friend who I think wants to be a little more than a friend. And I don't think he'll ever hear this,
Mm.
but if he does, I have to tell him, dude, the friend zone is not a real thing. You're not friend zoned, you're just a friend. You need to get over it. But anyways, he at like 11 or right before 11, this dude walks into the bar and like just comes over, and she like gets all shocked, and she walks over and talks to him, and then he leaves. And I was like, what was that? She said,
Because he tracked her fucking location
that
and
was
came to the bar?
apparently he had texted her earlier saying, oh, what are you doing tonight? And she said, oh, I'm going on a date, blah, blah, blah. I'll probably be home close to 11 or whatever. But he got worried about her, and he tracked her
On the date. He
and then
didn't.
came inside.
Are
And
you fucking kidding me?
yeah, because her phone was dead. So I guess he was trying to text her, and it wasn't like, so then my guess, probably tried calling her a dozen times and just
She
went straight to
doesn't need to be
voicemail.
saved. What
Yeah.
the fuck?
Yeah. So that was a really, really bad look for that guy, because I was like, dude, no. And he
It's not like she texted him SOS,
right. Yeah.
something's wrong with my car and I need help getting home or
There was
whatever.
nothing. No, he just tracked her and
Oh.
then came in because he's overly
Did she
protective.
yell at him in front of
She
you?
was not like, she was very unhappy with him when, like, I couldn't hear her because she walked over to him when he walked in the entrance of the bar, and then he turned right around and walked right back out again, and then she was very flustered after that. So I think she was very upset that
she was
happening.
Embarrassed.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And but then it was almost 11. She's like, I have to go anyway. So I was like, all right, I'll walk you out to your car. Walk her out to her car. He's parked right next to her car and still sitting in the car.
How long was that from them talking in the bar to walking?
It was probably
outside?
like 5 to maybe 10 minutes. Like it was
Still, why did he stay?
because he's a fucking little creeper.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So that was I was like, that.
Did she say, this guy likes me? My friend.
I don't.
You probably. I don't know. That's weird.
She kind of brushed it off as, oh, this is just a friend. I suspect that he's either maybe an ex or maybe just someone, like I said, someone who thinks that there's something going on or there's something more with them. And
it's not the baby's father by chance?
I mean, it could be, although I would have guessed she probably would have said that. She probably would have been like, oh, this is,
that's true.
I would imagine, but I don't know. So that was an odd end to the night. Well, not an end to the night. She left, and then I ended up staying there till 2 a.m.
Oh, okay. It sounds about right. Okay.
Anyways.
11 o'clock, Adam's going home. I don't think so.
Never. But yeah, so that was interesting. And we were going to try to hang out again before I left, but it's not happening because I'm leaving tomorrow morning. And today I probably could have, but I was not I didn't want to see anybody. I left the house to go get food and then came back. And that was it.
The exciting life of Adam.
I know. Although I'm meeting up with somebody a TikTok person tonight. We're going to meet up. So that'll be fun. And then I head to the Austin area for 5 days, and then I'm in Dallas for a week, and then I'm going to be in Tulsa. So if you're in any of those areas, feel free to message me. And I make no promises, but you never know.
You're gonna hate Texas at the end of this.
I'll be like, I'm never fucking going to. Well, I'm actually kind of excited to go to Austin because I'm gonna be.
Austin's cool.
I'm gonna be outside Austin in San Marcos, which is between Austin and San Antonio. But I'm gonna really try to force myself to get up and go into Austin every day.
Have you been before?
No, I've never been there.
Okay, yeah, I'll give you a list of things to do that you probably won't do.
Yes, that would be great. I would love to look at your list and dismiss all of them.
You're like, but not really my thing.
Nope.
Do you want to see bats?
I do want to see the
bats.
Bridge? The bats
okay.
I do want to see. So.
Okay, I was gonna say Adam would do that. He can stand and watch bats.
I can stand watch bats. I'm just not going on any fucking hiking trails. Museums. I'll go. I'll check out some cool museums. I'm sure there's stuff like that. But so I want to force myself. Also, my Airbnb why do I do this to myself? My Airbnb in San Marcos is a room in someone's house.
Why did Adam,
My
you should
budget,
get with.
listen, my budget was
I know.
disappearing very quickly for this last leg of the trip. So I was looking for the cheapest alternatives, and it has its own bathroom. So it's a bedroom with its own bathroom. So at least it's there. That's fine.
Are there other rooms in the house that they're renting out too?
I don't think so. It sounds like it's just like it's this woman and her boyfriend, and then they have like a little extra area that they, yeah. So I'm hoping it's like a split floor plan, and I'm not going to really see them, but I don't know.
I did that once in Savannah and I absolutely hated my life and I just felt awkward. And then on top of it, I had the shits from driving and I was embarrassed. And you know how I am with taking a poop and traveling. It was just not a fun time and I couldn't wait to leave. So.
That is something I'm like, oh, I don't know. I had that one time when I was driving through earlier and I was in somewhere. Where was I? Kansas? Somewhere. And it was a woman who had like just this little downstairs thing to her basement, but there was just a curtain.
Yo, I remember.
Yeah.
And you're like, I think I'm gonna get killed. I don't know. You've stayed in some weird places on top of a garage once.
Yep.
I don't. Yeah, the Kansas one sounds familiar as well.
Yeah, I think it might. I don't remember exactly where it was, but yeah, it was just a one night thing, so it was fine. But like, it was just weird. I mean, the bedroom door shut and everything, but like the downstairs area that I had all my access to was just she had a curtain separating it, and I was like, that doesn't seem very safe for her either. Like, I don't know, but. We'll see what happens. I'm sure I will be complaining about my San Marcos Airbnb without a problem.
Just get to
bitching
Utah.
about it. Yeah, I know. It's just make it to Utah. I can do it. So, well, okay. Before we get into what's going on in your life, let's go ahead and take a quick break.
Let's do it. All right. Well, my life, uneventful. There we go. There you have it. Not as cool as Adam's yet. Next week, I'll be excited. Right now, I'm fucking tired and ready to go on vacation.
And where you're going to Guatemala.
I feel like I've repeated myself that I'm going to Guatemala a million times, but yes, I'll say it once more. I'm going to Guatemala. And then when I'm in Guatemala, you'll just keep hearing me say I'm in Guatemala. For 4 weeks straight. Yeah, pretty much.
And you're leaving Master of None for a month or 6 weeks
or more. Yeah. Because when I'm extending my trip to go to Mexico and then he's flying to Maine to do stuff with his family. So I decided I'm not going to go on the Maine trip this year. And so we're going to miss each other by a couple of days. And then when he gets back, I think all in all, it'll be about 6 weeks.
Okay. All right. How are you feeling about that?
If you would have asked me a week ago, wouldn't have given a shit. That's fine, whatever. But last night I was actually kind of sad about it. And I was just thinking, damn, I'm not going to see him for a really long time. And it's different now because when we were going through like the opportunity I had in Colombia, I think was a little different because I was going with a group and it was just, I was kind of getting paid to do, quote unquote, paid to do some videos and work. So I saw it as also a working opportunity where this is, I'm going to be alone for the 6 weeks. That reminds me of a lot of when I was in Arkansas for 6 weeks, kind of waiting until we were moving in together.
Yeah.
And I think because I've gotten so used to living with him and seeing him every day and us just being around one another, that going from that to then nothing and then not even having a group to be within another country until I kind of start meeting people in co-working spaces and things, I think will be a little shock to the system. And I know I'll miss him. So, but it's good I keep reminding myself, it's good for me though, because I like this version of me when I'm traveling.
Right.
That's my favorite version of me. So, or my best version, I think anyways, of just, I try new things. I feel adventurous. I feel like I'm fucking alive versus just sitting in my room every day and just working. So it's just different when I'm on the road.
Yeah, and I suspect that if you get into those co-working spaces, that you're going to find some people that you click with and can hang out with if you're in the mood to hang out with somebody.
That's the plan. I'm going to sign up for additional, I don't know, like a yoga class or a hiking thing or something, and hopefully meet a couple of people and kind of chat about how long they're in the city for and what their plans, just to meet people. And then if I hang around, I hang out at the Selena co-working area. I don't want to name drop them, but they're a really well-known hostel chain, and that's where I rent the co-working spaces at. And I don't know, I was
thinking hostel. I was like, so they're not friendly, but I realized you meant hostel as in yes, hostel.
Right? Yeah.
I was like,
it's a hostel. You want to go to
it's a hostel. It's a hostel co-working environment. I was like, oh, that sounds like a lot of fun. Okay, it makes
a hostel with a co-working space with some yoga stuff. They typically have pools and stuff, so it'll be a cool place to hang out since I'll pay for access for all of that. And then hopefully, with just hanging around there, I'll meet some people and just join some of their socials or whatever. I didn't really do that a lot in fucking Colombia because I was just over a lot of the people and just wanted to stay in my own apartment. But I think I'm going to be nudged a little bit more since I'm really going to be by myself. I don't know. We'll see.
Okay. Well, that's a quick little. Anything else going on? That's it.
Still having sex with a condom, even though technically I could have sex without it. Also, I realized, I don't hate that I'm going to say this, but I really like sex without a condom because with a condom, we get dry so much faster. And so it's just lube on hand. It's just
right.
I don't know. For me, I notice a difference. And I think before constantly having sex with somebody, I didn't notice a difference. But between Master Ben and I, we both are like, can this shit be over? Just because of just the extra lube and just it'll just get real dry. Like I don't know. We just have more issues having sex with a condom than without.
Sure.
So.
Yeah. And when is that over? Is this when?
It could have been over. I'm just really cautious about it still because we even looked up the specific birth control pill, and I just want my body to be back on the right system. I know my body's fine, right? But it's just the nerves of what if, I guess. And it's 7 days after you started taking the first pill, then your body will be regulated. I'm on, I want to say like day 12 now. So I know that I know. And Master Renault was joking. He's like, so the next time we're going to have sex without a condom is when you get back from Guatemala, huh? I was like, well, and we ran out of condoms too, because we only had a couple. Right. Those are the ones that we had before we really started seriously dating. And we checked the expiration date. Don't worry. The expiration date was fine. But we ran out of those because those are kind of the fail safe. And now that we're out of that, it's like, well, are we fucking or are we not? And
just gonna wrap it in a Ziploc bag and put some rubber bands around the end.
Jesus Christ, that sounds awful. Nope. So we haven't really had sex at all this week, and then I leave on Saturday, and like you said, today's Wednesday, so we have some making up to do before I leave at 6 a.m. on Saturday.
That's right.
Yeah, I don't know. I just
just do it. There we go. It's the Nike slogan. Just go ahead, go have some
fun. I'm honestly just still scarred from just my pregnancy scare that I'm just overly cautious. And he understands, but also he's like, but it's been longer than 7 days and everything we've looked at says it's fine. I'm like, I know it's a me thing. I totally know it's a me thing. I'm sorry, but
well, I'm glad that he's willing to do it though. And he's not, complaining about that anyways. That's good.
He's not coercive.
He's not coercive. Yeah. I know our topic.
Oh yeah. So that's life. And also fun. I talked to someone this week who said that podcasting is content for the ears. So I just wanted to throw that in there too. And if anyone was questioning if podcasting was content or not, I was told it was not content. It's just content for the ears. Think on that.
Ears.
Think on that. Yeah.
Content for the if you watch it on YouTube, it's also content for the eyes at the same time.
Ooh, and if you watch our video, it's content on social and content on. I don't
imagine that.
What a fucking concept.
That person
is not very smart.
Is not very smart.
Are we gonna talk about? You want to go to another break or no?
I don't think we need to do another break, do we?
Okay. Well, speaking of stupid things, I think we said some stupid thing, or we have a list of corrections from listeners telling us that we are wrong.
Correction corner, I guess.
I like that correction corner. Yeah, I like the jingles.
You do. We had, first of all, we had an email from Danielle. Thank you for emailing us, Danielle. You too can email us at datingkindofsuckspodcast@gmail.com. And she was listening to our episode that we did where we reposted our bodily autonomy episode. We discussed some of the with the Roe v. Wade potentially being overturned. And she said that that she's a nurse practitioner in Indiana and that Planned Parenthood does not have enough money. Which we said, that Planned Parenthood just
have enough money. Don't worry about them.
Yeah, don't worry about them. She said that's not necessarily true. That she's worried about that, like her state closing all the centers, even family planning, like non-abortion centers, to just Planned Parenthood in general. And so that in red states, people should consider donating to Planned Parenthood because they are actually in danger. And so that was just something, point that we wanted to say. Although I think that the abortion funds, those might even make more sense to donate to as well, just because of what they provide.
Well, and also think about the red states. They're probably going, even with donating to Planned Parenthood, they're still going to try to limit access to Planned Parenthood. But what's the word? But donating to
Yes.
abortion fund will actually provide access and help with travel expenses, lodging expenses, and things like that. So people, because I think more and more people are going to be forced to travel to get an abortion in the future because there
Yes.
aren't going to be a lot of
Unless-
Planned Parenthoods.
Unless we can get some major change in the the next upcoming months, and
We're feeling so
get
hopeful
some
with
things
all the news
cut
this
out.
week.
I know. It's not feeling very hopeful.
Yeah.
So yes, that was one correction.
Oh, and then we have our homie Steve T on our Patreon who wants to correct Adam on you know how Adam always lists the countries, which we don't have a list on this
Oh,
episode.
I
for
forgot to do it
whatever reason.
this
You
week.
forgot to add it.
Damn
This
it.
is why. But Adam likes saying Barbados, they're Barbadosians, and
Yes.
Steve T wanted to let us know that people from Barbados are not called Barbadosians, but Barbadians or Bahans.
Yeah, I would say Barbadians probably. But
I can't read Barbadians or
Barbadians or
Bahans.
Bahans. Yeah.
Bahans.
Bahans.
We're gonna fuck this up again. I am so sorry, Steve.
Yeah, look, this time it's Sarah you can yell at, but yeah,
but I'm
so
not saying Barbadosians. Okay?
Barbadosian, which I'm sorry, it just had a cooler ring, rolled
I
right off
like
the
it
tongue
more
there,
now that
Barbadosian, but Barbadians it is, or Bahans, whatever,
Barbadians.
whatever they are. So yes, anyone from Barbados who's listening, thank you very much. Even
We're
if
sorry we
fucked
butchered
up,
that.
yes, absolutely.
We as in Adam and then me just now.
Yes, and then Sarah trying to think it's funny to correct and then actually doing it even worse. That was fantastic.
I can't read. It's fine.
That's
And then we also have another new voicemail coming at you from our DKS hotline, which you can call that hotline. That number is 407-519-0181. And this message was from a TikTok, someone who follows Adam on TikTok at Micah Nanners. And we'll play our clip right now.
So my question is this. I am polyamorous. I'm pansexual. And yet somehow I am single. And, being attracted to pretty much everybody, I somehow still keep ending up with, cis men. So I was wondering if you had any insights as to why that might be. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Love you.
All right. Well, Micah, thank you for calling. I appreciate you doing that. And this is one of those situations that I would say that just because you're open to the types of people that you find attractive being pan, it doesn't mean that you maybe have opened up all the way, like emotionally, intellectually. You might still be kind of trapped in the mindset of who you were dating previously, which I'm going to guess was that you just started out dating men, and that's kind of where that's your comfort zone. So you've been sticking with men because of that.
And the nerves. I think it's kind of similar to last week's call that we got, just about being nervous to just interact with someone with the same sex because of past experiences and being new in that space. So I would just say, take your time. There's no rush to try to not date cis men, but just know that over time, talk to other people, get comfortable being around other people that you're attracted to. And yeah, I honestly think it's just because your past experiences cis men that it's easier to just be around and date cis men for right now.
So one thing you could do is just go ahead and exclude men from your dating app preferences. Just try that.
Yeah, that's true.
Like that one, if you're like, hey, that's what I keep finding. Maybe that is your comfort zone. Maybe you're subconsciously, gravitating towards them. But if you eliminate them and just focus on non-men in your dating profile and your dating parameters, whatever you use for dating apps, then you might start to expand your horizons a little bit and get a little bit more comfortable with dating people other than unwashed, unintelligent.
But I would also say that not all cis men are bad, and you can remove all. You could screen them out and date other people and then still find your way back to dating a cis man, and that doesn't mean anything's wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, you could, but in the right now, I mean, if you eliminated them from all consideration, they will at least maybe force you to try new things, and then you can always, like I said, they can always fold them back in. Although chances are, from everyone that I've heard who stops dating men, they I don't know why I'll ever go back, for the most part. So I wouldn't blame you if you didn't go back to men at all after that. And
there are a couple of good men out there, though. Okay, I will have to say that much.
And then as far as like maybe if you're trying to get into polyamory a little bit more, there are a lot of good poly groups on Facebook and Meetup and even FetLife and places like that. And they do just meetups, and you can just go and just they're like mixers, and you can kind of go and just meet people and just be yourself and see whatever happens. So you might want to give that a shot as well. Well, I was gonna say, and if you want to leave a message and anything about dating, sex, relationships at all, please go ahead and call. The number's it's a voicemail box, so nobody actually answers it, so you don't have to call anytime,
Don't worry,
day or night. Yeah, it's not one of us just answering. Oh, hold on,
Hi,
let me write this down.
Calling.
Yeah,
thank you for calling.
And you can call that at 407-519-0181.
What does that voicemail sound like?
Have you not listened to it?
I listened to it a while ago, but I forgot what
I had to
what
change
your tone
it.
was.
And it says something like it's like, thank you for calling the Dating Kind of Sucks helpline. Go ahead and leave a message with your question about dating, sex.
Oh, you did not say it. You did not talk like that. Oh my God.
I think I did. I mean, I wanted it to sound like a helpline.
We've had a lot of people stop and restart their messages because they're probably just fucking confused that you sound like that.
Thank you for calling Movie Phone. If you'd like to see Men, press 1. Which, oh, by the way, let me say that real quick. I just saw the movie Men. That's what made me just think of that. Which is an incredible movie that everyone should go see in the theaters. That was it's a horror movie, and it's very not subtle about men, and I think you should definitely see it. But
I'm not watching a horror movie in theaters.
Well,
that's
no,
not my vibe.
When it's out, it'll be out by the time you're back from Guatemala, and you can watch it. But it was crazy. But one of the best parts about it is it's this woman alone in this place in the English countryside, and every man that she encounters while she's there is played by the same actor. And so it's all essentially very, like I said, not subtle, basically saying all men are a risk essentially, and it's an incredible movie. So I recommend everyone go see it if you have a chance in theaters. See it. Otherwise, wait until it comes out on demand or streaming or whatever.
Is this podcast sponsored by this movie? What's going on?
This podcast is sponsored by Men. Well, no, it's actually very relevant to our podcast and to the content we create. So I thought it'd be definitely worth mentioning.
Well, with that, we're going to talk more about men and relationships when we get back from this short break. We covered the topic of consent. I want to say when we first started recording this podcast back in 2018, we started chipping away because it was something face value that we needed to talk about in terms of dating. But
yeah.
But we never got past. I mean, our overarching message back then was, and still is, if it's not a fuck yes, it's a fuck no. And that's kind of been our takeaway with consent. But with coercion and things and just like manipulation, those things are harder to define. And although they're touched upon, we haven't actually really addressed this face on.
Right.
We've kind of said, I've been in this situation where this might have happened. And we'd say, well, this is wrong. That's wrong. But not, this is actually coercion. This is actually manipulation. This is we talked about toxic relationships, but it's different when sex is involved.
Well, and I think we've talked about coercion when we talk about a toxic relationship that has elements of coercion, but it's become really clear that the concept of consent is somehow confusing for some people. And especially with some elements of this, I have seen TikToks where someone shows that they're begging their spouse for sex or something like that, and going on, then finally, and people in the comments will be calling him out, hey, that's bad behavior, and there'll be all these men defending it and saying, no, there's nothing wrong with that. He's
wrong? Entitled to that pussy or whatever.
Yes.
I mean, it's just you can get it any day you want, so you should be able to get it any day you want. And if you can't, then that you got to fix that situation. Right. And it could never be. And we're talking obviously man and woman in a relationship, but it's never the man's fault as to why he's not having sex.
Never. So it'd be a good idea to I think coercion is one of those things that's important because it is a subtler aspect of the consent, whatever the elements that make up consent, and so we should start with that.
What are the elements that make up consent? Let's start with you.
Well, we should start with
made some fancy diagram or whatever in our agenda for.
Well, it's called the Fries model, and I can't take credit for it. Obviously, it was someone. I wish I had actually written the name of the woman that came up with it, but it is basically how you know what consent needs to be, and it has to be all of these things.
Every
And
single fry.
every single fry, right?
Okay.
It needs to be freely given, revocable, informed, enthusiastic, or engaged at the very least. And there's a difference there. We can talk about just for a sec. We won't get into too much deal with everything because we're focused on coercion, but we can get a little bit and specific. So, freely given, that is coerced. That basically that's not uncoerced. So that's going to be the first one we're going to start. That's how we're going to focus. But so that we'll get into that. But then revocable.
You can say you have check-in points and you can say no at any point along the way.
At any point, you are able to say, I don't want to do this anymore. And if someone pushes you, they are violating your consent. Informed consent. Informed consent is things like you agree to one thing and
a condom.
Yes, a condom, and then someone stealths, or someone tells you that they don't have a disease. That they're
a safe
clean.
word, and they don't use it.
Or safe word, and they're clean, or they say they're clean. I don't want to say clean. That's not a good thing with STIs. Someone tells you that they're STI free, and then you find out that they actually knew that they weren't, and you did not give informed consent to have sex with someone who has an STI.
Mm-hmm. And like I said, safe word is not that you're using safe words or not using safe words, but if your partner uses the safe word and you continue on ignoring them, well, that's not consent anymore.
And then with enthusiastic, but the actual original model was enthusiastic consent, and a lot of people came up with the idea that it's not always enthusiastic. Sometimes, especially for someone who is neurodivergent, they might not recognize what enthusiasm is in a partner. Or they might not also ever really feel enthusiastic about it. So then engaged became a better way to say it, that if you're not, you are engaged, like you have made the choice, the active choice,
you're still
to
wanting
engage in
that.
And yes. And it's like someone said, you're not always enthusiastic about doing dishes, but you're like, no, I'll do it, whatever, and like I'm down for it, but you might not really like be excited about it. And that's this. So it's still, you are making the active choice to do so.
And then there's specific. And I'm assuming that refers to the specific actions
Yes.
within sex that you are already agreed upon that will take place.
So like consent has to be, you are agreeing to have sex with somebody. You're consenting to, can I kiss you? Yes. Okay. You just agreed to a specific act. That doesn't mean, yes, you can, put your hand up my shirt. Yes, you can put your hand down my pants. It doesn't mean that you gave consent to a specific act. So
just because you're doing one thing doesn't mean the other thing's going to happen.
Exactly.
Right.
So you can give consent for those. So those are the elements of consent. And then, like I said, today we're going to focus on freely given, which applies entirely to the aspect of coercion.
And men think everything's just freely given because they got a yes one time, and that it always is a yes every time. That's what I honestly.
You were just saying, listen, not all men and blah blah blah.
No,
you just said that, which
it's not all. It's not master of none. It's not master of none. Okay.
Right.
But I will say, as we go down some examples of sexual coercion, I keep fucking up that word trying to say it because I'm reading it.
How do you want to say it? That's what I want to know.
Cohort. I want to say like coercion, like cohort. Yeah. Cohesion. Yeah. Cohesion makes more sense to me as a word instead of coercion.
Sexual cohesion is when you have sex and then you fall asleep like that and then you're stuck that way. That's when you're sexual cohesion. Sexual cohesion.
Coercion. I don't know. The O and the E is just a weird sound.
Right. Coercion. Yeah. No. Coercion. I know TikTok's captions never captures it. Like it never does coercion. It always does the weirdest words. I'm like, that's not what I said. I said coercion.
Cohort.
Yeah, cohort. Yeah. Things like that. Yeah. So
anyways, but I will say that like a lot of these examples have happened to me through dating, and it's all been men. So yeah.
And and which is not my normal thing. I will say that coercion can happen from both sides. That women are just they might have a little bit of a different way of approaching it. But there can be just as much coercion from women to men as well. But
That's a first. You'd literally never
I
say
know.
anything.
I
Normally
know.
it's
I
me
know.
going, and sometimes women say this or do
Yeah.
this, but
I'm just saying
wow,
that
okay.
it can
You're
happen.
not wrong
So,
though.
yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about what to do if maybe if you're the one being the coercive one, how you can maybe address that. But you know, anything that you're trying to convince someone of doing something they don't want to do is what coercion is, like just the basic definition. So if you're badgering somebody, you're begging, you're flattering them, you're guilt tripping them, like
You're doing something to get a reaction, to get the end result that you want.
right. Anything that you're trying to do, manipulating them, and like any of these things, even if you're coming up with little cute ways to keep asking them, like they say no and you want to keep, how about now? Oh, how about now? Oh, how about now? Like that type of thing is all coercion. It's all you trying to
break them down to
force a
finally
result.
just saying yes, fine, I'll do it, so they stop asking. They're just chipping. Honestly, it's just chipping away at consent.
Right. And it's one of those things that seems obvious when you're just like somebody asking someone out. If you just say no and then you're like, okay, yeah, I gotta know, I need to walk away. But when you're in a relationship, a lot of times it can feel like, oh, it's cutesy to keep asking. It's not. It's not
Or even
cutesy.
just
It's coercion.
or even just early on dating where you like the person and you don't want it to end, but they're kind of putting you in a situation where you feel uncomfortable, but you like them and you thought you trusted them. So then you're like, well, I guess I'll go ahead and do what you're trying to get me to do because I want this to work out.
Right.
That's coercion.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, if you're doing it because you're worried about the future of the relationship, absolutely too. That is never a good sign for the beginning of a relationship. And any type of relationship and marriage, obviously, does not entitle your partner to your body. Consenting to a marriage proposal or consenting to be exclusive with somebody is, once again, when you talk about it, have to mean to be specific. You're not consenting to whatever happens afterwards. It's not giving consent to whatever your partner wants sexually for the rest of your relationship. And so it's very important and I think in this situation for mostly men to understand this. So I will say, very important men understand, just every act of intimacy requires independent, informed consent.
Just because you're having sex with your girlfriend 2 to 3 times a week and then she says no, that number decreases and you say, well, we're not having our usual sex, we have to do it. You're not entitled to anything just because you're with them or what used to be the normal. And if you're questioning why is it so much harder to be intimate with my partner, why are they stepping away, why do they feel uncomfortable, you shouldn't be forcing yourself on them as a way to solve the problem. You should be talking to them and discussing what's actually going on underneath. Saying, oh, well, right, things are just different and you don't love me anymore. Why don't you have a conversation about it instead of saying, well, you don't love me because you don't suck my dick anymore? That's not working towards solving any problems.
Very true. I think that it's also one of those situations where I know what I was there was something I want to say about there is a kink called consensual non-consent that we're not going to get into at all.
Okay.
Google that shit if you want to. But that's the exception to some of these in a little bit. But we, because there are some things where people are like, oh, well, I'm in a relationship where so and so, like I want him to know that if he wants to wake me up in the morning when I'm sleeping or fucking me or whatever, then that's okay. Those are different situations. So we're not going to get into.
Well, that's also separately discussed.
Right. That's what makes it different.
And planned is just
it is still specific consent. Like you're specifically consenting to acts in the future, in a different way. But so I just wanted to bring that up because it seems like there's always one person who wants to be like, oh, well, what about consensual non-consent? And I'm like, yeah, okay, CNC is a thing, but we're not going to get into it.
I didn't know that had an acronym either. I'm learning something.
CNC. Yeah. So this is what I've learned from TikTok, basically.
Oh, okay. Okay, so I guess it's time to provide examples for different types of coercive behavior and kind of, if you're hearing this, that's what this is.
Yes. So there's so many different ways of examples of it. So let's get into different things that you might be in a relationship where you've experienced coercion without necessarily even knowing that.
If they're implying that they spent a lot of money on you, or they bought you a really nice gift, or they took you on a really nice vacation, and that means you need to fuck them, that's coercive behavior.
Right.
And that's
had dates, right? Dates that have done that.
Oh yeah, I mean, I literally had a guy saying, "Oh, I spent a lot of money tonight. The least you could do is suck my dick." Like dead ass, seriously so saying insane. That. Yeah.
What was this one when we did the podcast, or was this before that?
Before the podcast. Before the podcast, I think all of those experiences that I'm about to list happened before the podcast. Yeah.
Yeah, that's just unbelievable too. But it's something that I've seen too. I mean, like I said, on TikTok too, I've seen these dating coaches who say, gentlemen, like, if you pay for 3 dates and she still won't have sex,
you tell her.
Yeah, they're basically, well, then you either walk away or tell her that she gets to pay for the next 3, or she has to pay for every foreseeable date until she decides to give it up. And they just see relationships as like this, their dating is this transactional thing. Yeah, like I put money in, I get pussy out, and it's really just completely disgusting.
Well, they're also trying to attack your self-esteem and make you feel like if you don't have sex with them, all those good experiences you've had with them, they're gone.
Yep.
So all those nice meals, all those fancy vacations, and everything that they've done for you, if you don't suck their dick or fuck them, it's gone forever. Or, then you're paying for it the next time. And I'm not going to eat you out after because I haven't had my fair share yet.
These guys, of course, are the men that would never just go hire a sex worker and just give her money and have sex with her, because at the same time, they're misogynists, and they look down on women who do that. They don't consider sex work real work, but they consider dating to be something where they can just pay for sex. It's very, very pathetic behavior, but it's obviously people will fall for it sometimes. People will be like, oh, well, I guess I'll suck your dick just as a thank you.
Well, they live in the facade of, well, we've been on all these fancy dates. We've done all these amazing things. So yeah, I guess it's the least I could. It's just like that dumb, I hate to say dumb girl mentality, but I've been in those shoes of, well, I guess,
you've been in those knee pads.
I've been in this. Yes, I have been in those knee pads. I'm just like, well, I guess I want more nice dinners, and I like him, and I don't want it to go away. So, and I like the gifts he's buying me. So yeah, I'll suck his dick. Well, I don't really want to, but yeah.
Right. And keep in mind, and this is, if you want to date with somebody, they are also getting your presence. They're getting to spend time with you, and someone who actually likes you is going to enjoy the quality time you're getting together. They're not doing it to the end of getting laid. If that's their ultimate end, then they're not interested in you as a person anyway.
Yeah, but it goes back to just a lack of self-esteem and feeling that they're spending money on you, they're spending time with you, and you should just be lucky to get that. So just do anything else that they want.
And then with this kind of implying that you owe them, there is in a relationship type environment, instead of it being, well, I take you out to dinner, it's like, well, if I do the dishes, will you want to have sex then? Or if I actually do, the chores that you've been asking me to do all this time that I never do, is that going to help? Like it's basically trying to like bargain and create this idea that like, if I do this and you're going to owe me, like, oh, I'll change the oil on your car if you have sex with me, like things like that. Like when spouses and partners who think that way are obviously exhibiting completely coercive behavior to try to coerce you into having sex when you don't want to.
It'd be totally fine if you wanted to do all of those things without having a stipulation tied to it.
Oh yeah.
And then I came home or I checked my car or whatever, and it was done. I might be more turned on and you might actually get the end result. But now that you're pressuring me and making a transaction, I'm less likely to want to fuck you.
Yeah. The stipulation is what makes it the bad thing. It's just like, if you do this because you're actually, if you were doing this because you care about the person and you're actually trying to just be, a helpful partner who participates in, in the household, then you probably are having decent sex anyways, because your partner doesn't see you as a little child that she has to boss around and make sure she puts a chore list out for.
Man, I won't do the chores unless you suck my dick.
Right. So that's the kind of the owing is a type of coercion. There's also the example of social pressure of kind of the like social stigma, or what is society going to say about this? Like what will your friends think? Kind of, but not really. But and an example of that is the 3-date rule. That's an example of social coercion where it's like, well, we've been on 3 dates. This is that's what you do after 3 dates. You have sex. Everybody's doing it. Why won't you?
Why aren't we having sex yet? Yeah. And I think a lot of the social pressure is more on the early dating side where you feel more pressure because you don't want to lose a good thing that you don't really know if it's going to continue.
Right.
So you don't want them to say something like, "Oh, well, you gave me blue balls" or whatever. And also, why do guys always fucking say that?
Yeah,
shitty guys always
let's
say
talk
that.
about that, by the way.
Please,
we can just say,
please.
guys. Let's talk about it. First of all, blue balls is not a real thing. 100%. If you're listening to this and you are a woman, blue balls is an absolute bullshit thing that people use to manipulate a woman into sex. It's completely coercive. It is a real medical condition called epididymal hypertension. And so it does actually exist as but it's a very minor medical condition that causes minor discomfort and goes away very quickly. So I say it's not a real thing because the only people who ever try to use it are people who are trying to use it to convince someone to suck their dick or have sex with them because they're like, oh, I'm in so much pain, I got blue balls. Yeah, bullshit. That is never a thing. It is not a fucking thing.
More than period cramps? Is it more painful than period cramps? I fucking doubt it. I fucking doubt it. And of all the times I have made a man hard and then not fucked him or sucked his dick, I have never once seen a blue ball.
Well, yes, they don't actually turn blue.
I know, but they're like, oh, it looks so much different or it's blood. No.
Yeah, no.
I've never seen a man in pain because he didn't have sex with me.
I have had times where I've had insane erections and nothing was going to happen except I had to relieve it myself or it would just go away. And you know what? It just went away. And there was no pain. It's a mild discomfort. It's just like, I'm sure you've been turned on and then nothing, and then got shut down or something happened and you weren't going to have sex. And you feel a little bit of discomfort. You're like, oh, you're ready to go. Mm-hmm. And then, yeah, it doesn't happen. And then the discomfort goes away.
And you move on. You're like, oh, damn. There's the blue balls element that's not part of this conversation of your partner gets you turned on and they're just teasing you for, later in the night where then you're actually going to have sex. So you're already really ready to go.
Yeah, that's
fun. That's fun.
That's teasing.
And,
that's teasing. Yeah. That's as long as it's not someone doing it to manipulate you, which is shitty. That's obviously. Although I would have no problem with a wife teasing her husband to get him to go do all the stuff and then be like, oh, good, you got everything done. Thank you. I'm going to bed now. I feel like, that might teach him some lessons. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. Social pressures. Anything else?
Not with that one. I think the pressures of society, the stigma. There's also the stigma. Well, I'm going to tell everybody that you slept with me anyway, so you might as well. That's another type of coercion.
That's a really fucking good one. And then they're going to label you as the slut. And they weren't going to call you a slut if you slept with them, but if you don't sleep with them, then you're labeled a slut.
Right. And that's for, I think, would say younger people who not necessarily. Once you get a little bit older, nobody does that type of thing. There's also not that type of rumor mill when you're not in the high school, college, even college environments too. But yeah.
That's true. Well, and when I shared my trauma walk back in Orlando and I didn't sleep with a guy, but he told the entire school I had a hairy vag and I fucked him and blah, blah, blah. A couple of women messaged me and said, yo, I had this same experience. What the fuck is up with Florida boys?
Yeah, that's
that's a thing. Really, where did they get that note from? Of this is what's gonna work to make the girl feel shitty for not fucking me.
They probably saw some pickup artist video. That'd be my guess. So that's another example of social coercion as well. And then it kind of ties into it too. Is the loosening up inhibitions is kind of also a social coercion where it's like, oh no, let's just do some shots and then you'll be more in the mood. Or if you're trying to give someone drugs or alcohol to make sure that they don't have the inhibitions to say no. That's a coercion in its own way.
Yeah, and you're buying them extra drinks because you think that's going to make later even more fun.
Right.
And they say, "Oh no, I'm pretty good. I'm going to switch to drinking water." You come back from the bathroom and they've already ordered you another drink. "Oh, we're just having such a fun time anyways. It's just one more drink. You could drink the water with it." Yeah. No, I said I was done drinking, but now I feel uncomfortable because now you've purchased this drink for me.
Right.
And I feel like I do now, and then it goes into, I feel like I now owe you something because you spent money on this extra fancy fucking cocktail. And now I'm in this situation and what's going to happen later? And now I'm drinking. So what's going to happen because of that as well?
And that's
the guilt and the drinking and the, yeah.
Well, yeah, being guilted into it is, that just the pressure that well, I bought it for you, you have to drink it. And so then it's coercing you, into it. And the other aspect of that too is that someone who is drunk can't consent. So part of the whole fries thing is that is freely given, and you can't really freely give consent when you're drunk. So
yeah, I would just say stick to 1 or 2 drinks and have a good time. Well, and I think that's the other reason why a lot of people, or men specifically, like to go out for bars on first, second, or third dates and drink and drink and drink, because then ultimately that'll lead to them getting their dick sucked or getting laid.
They're kind of
later.
thinking, yeah, if we both get drunk, then whatever. But I will say that, I think a lot of women like bars too, just because they like that social lubrication of being able to relax and have a drink. But it's if someone's trying to like specifically force you. I knew a guy who would always buy himself singles, but in a tall glass, so it looked like he was drinking, and then order them doubles. So that way, it looked basically he was drinking half of what they were drinking, and so his dates would get just completely fucked up. Yeah, and it was just garbage behavior.
How can you think that you're possibly in the right when you're doing that? How can you honestly sit with yourself and go, this person should really want to date me because I'm doing the right thing?
It's all about people, men like that, not actually thinking women are people.
That's true.
That's really what it boils down to, unfortunately.
I mean, it just makes me think of all the past dates I've been on where I show up, I haven't ordered a drink yet. He's already been drinking. And then he makes the statement of, well, you got to catch up to me now. You're like, what the fuck? Like, I just came here for a fucking date. Now I have to catch up to you. And then you feel that social pressure to, and maybe he wasn't even drinking the entire, you know what I mean? He just made it look a certain way. And now I feel like I should be like the boys and drinking with him, and then I end up getting taken advantage of or feeling uncomfortable in a situation, and then things go too far.
Yep, absolutely. And so anything around that could be, you have to be really tread carefully. And if you see someone doing that, if you have a date who's trying to do that, that's a red flag. And we always say, when you have a red flag, don't collect them. Just, that's it. Full stop. Walk away from a red flag.
Yeah.
And
you're allowed to say, I'm not really feeling like, I wanted to meet up at this bar tonight, but I'm not really feeling like drinking too much. And when you start imposing your boundaries, I mean, I've done a whole episode on boundaries too, but when you start imposing your boundaries on them, that's where you can see their character change to being nice, to being more manipulative, to trying to, I don't know, they'll change, and then red flag, time to leave.
Exactly. If they start getting shadier or crazier or angrier or any of those things, that is absolutely, it gives even more indication that you should walk away from that. And why don't we go ahead and take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
We've already touched on how it's different, or it can feel different when you're in a relationship, because you might feel that pressure to have sex with them on a certain cadence, or that to show your love, you need to have sex with them. And one of those things is using your relationship as leverage to get sex, because why the fuck am I exclusive if we're not having sex? The whole reason we're exclusive is so I can just have sex with you.
Right. And I'll tell you what, if you get into a relationship with someone for the sole reason of having sex with them, then you're a terrible person, like that's not, but that's true. People use that, or, we used to have sex all the time and now we don't. So what's wrong with you? Which is not taking into account a variety of things that might be wrong.
Instead of just going, hey, is there a shift going on in our relationship? Do we need to talk things out? It's your fault. My dick's not hard all the time and we're not fucking.
Right.
And if you don't fuck me, then I'm going to end this relationship and fuck somebody else because you don't love me. Or
not end the relationship and fuck somebody else. Like, it's like, like, this is my justification for cheating. Because, if you're not going to give it to me, then I might as well go find somebody who will.
Because I'm a man with needs, and my needs are not being met right now. So if you can't meet them, someone else will. What the fuck? I've actually had a friend that her boyfriend said that. You have needs
People
in our
say
relationship.
this.
Yeah,
Yes.
they're like, you have needs in our relationship and I help meet those needs. Well, this is a need that I have and you're not meeting it. So you're not holding up your end of the bargain in this relationship. I'm like, I'm sorry. I didn't know this was a bargain, a part of it.
Right.
Just because we're together.
I just did this TikTok that just got taken down. I told the one for community violations, community guideline violations, where this guy was basically saying that if you don't want your spouse to touch you because you feel not feeling it, he goes, hey, listen, here's the thing, ladies, you don't have to let everyone in the world touch you. The only person you have to let touch you is the person who professes his love for you. And so try not to be all disgusted, like, oh, I don't want to, because there will be somebody out there who will appreciate that love. And that was his advice as a relationship coach, which is why relationship coaches are garbage, by the way. And yeah.
Anyone who says they love me should have the ability to touch me.
Basically, by professing his love, that means that he even says, women, you need to work on getting rid of your baggage and your boundaries and letting that man touch you, letting that man who loves you be with you.
Oh,
yeah,
I have such an issue with that.
So fucked up.
Oh my God. I fucking hate dating and relationship coaches, especially the ones on TikTok, because they're just in it for the views. I'm like, hopefully you just said that and you weren't fucking thinking, but I don't think that's the case.
Oh no, this is a guy who's married, and his wife was like, hey honey, we got a new question from blah blah blah. And so he answered it. She was like, good job, honey. And I can only imagine how terrible their relationship actually is. I feel bad for that woman.
You want your partner to be comfortable setting boundaries in your relationship. You want healthy boundaries with you and your partner in general. And you want to have the ability to say no and be your own person. Yep. You are not the same. Just because you're with someone doesn't mean you're tied to doing everything with that person or for that person or, I don't know, fucking that person. You don't have to do. It's not just because, even if you were married, just because you're a union doesn't entitle you to a lot of things.
Right. Yeah, you're not wrong. And people need to understand that. And that's one of those weird things that it's once again, this entitlement of mostly men who feel like, women are there to be their caretakers, their baby makers, their caretakers, and their moms, and their sex dolls whenever they want. And that's it. Now they're not people. So
it's totally fine to be in a relationship and notice, hey, we're having sex less often than we used to.
Of course.
What's going on? Or I enjoy this statement is important. I enjoy having sex with you. Let's start having sex more. Or why aren't we having sex as much as we used to? And discussing that and then getting back to a cadence that works for you. But if one person in the relationship doesn't want to have sex anymore, it could be a whole slew of things besides the fact that they don't respect your fucking boundaries.
Yes, and we're going to kind of talk about some of those reasons in a bit about why this might not be working sexually right now. But so the that type of relationship coercion is unacceptable. If someone's doing that to you, that's not a healthy relationship. And then there's the whole, and this is one that I think a lot of people have probably done, even not realizing it. And I think this is probably one you've done, is if you kind of react with like anger, or you're sad, or you get resentful, or kind of you hurt feelings, when it comes to having sex, because someone rejects you.
Yeah, and you're like, but I thought we were having fun, or
right.
Well, what's wrong? I mean, you instead of going okay and just being kind of more not numb to it, but just in a, what's the right word to say? Just like a thoughtful response instead of an emotional response.
Yeah. Because
acting emotion is going to make that other person feel guilted into then having to have sex with you.
Right. And if and so I mean, I know you've said this has happened where you got rejected once and you immediately you felt hurt, like it was something that bothered you.
I mean, it was with Master of None, because I had never really been rejected before when it came to asking for sex. And the first time he said no, I was like, wait, what? Why not? We had sex yesterday. Why didn't you want to have sex now? You're always horny. I don't understand. Why aren't you horny right now? And then I was like, look, it's okay that I don't want to have sex right now. It's not that I don't like you. It's not that I don't love having sex with you. It's just not today. And I was like, God damn it. And actually that happened last night too. I was horny and then he was busy doing other things. And I was like, okay. But I just left. I was like, okay, he's not in the mood.
Right.
But if guilt tripping is never going to get me the response that I want, it's not going to equal sex. So why would I do that in the first place?
Exactly. And I had a girlfriend who we at one time I was stressed about something and thinking about something else and just not really in the mood and was just not, and she like pounced on me and I was like, I'm not really feeling it right now. And she got really upset and was just like, she tied it all into her own kind of like insecurity and she was feeling like not feeling attractive. Oh, I'm not attractive. You don't think I'm, you don't think I'm hot. Blah, blah, you don't enjoy sex. Like it just spiraled into this whole thing that, that she kind of made me feel bad. And at some point I was like, all right, let's try to fool around, but then at the point she's like, well, I'm not in the mood anymore now, and I was like, all right, I can't win now. So that was very coercive. It was her, but then,
and then you feel like the bad guy because you didn't want to have sex the minute she jumped on you.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and I think that, it also goes a long way if you think about it, like as a man, it made me also realize a lot that when a woman says no, how easy it is for her to feel guilty about that and feel like the bad person for saying no because of how I felt. And I was like, oh, that's not good for a woman to feel like she's in the wrong for saying no when she's not in the mood. Mm-hmm. And so it was just that was it. But then sometimes it's not that like that was just a emotional reaction by her. She wasn't doing it in a like she wasn't trying to be she reacted because she hadn't been rejected for I think like you hadn't, and that was her initial emotional reaction. But now sometimes people do it like they like men especially when they get rejected they use emotions to try to be insulting and stuff like that, like, well, it's not like, who else is gonna fuck you, so you might as well fuck me, I'm the only one here and shit like that, like kind of these insults to try to coerce.
What are you going to use your toy, your small little toy versus my big cock?
Yeah, although I think most of those guys who say that are probably they're probably feeling like the toy is competition for them too. Those are guys who don't like toys in bed. Yeah.
Constantly being pissed that I would rather just masturbate later, or come on, why not? I love you. Let's do it. No.
Right.
What about ignoring when you're revoking it when you're already starting?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the statement of just we're already in bed. We're already kind of fooling around.
Yeah, let's
just the tip. I think maybe that's where
just the tip.
You think that statement came out from just being toxic?
Probably. It probably was just like, let me just put the tip in. No,
just the tip. Don't worry, we're already fooling around. Just the tip.
I mean, I'm sure you've had guys that you're like, well, you already sucked my dick. Why don't we just like have sex?
Every time.
Yeah.
Every time. Not master of none, but every time.
Right. And then of course, anytime that anyone ignores no, that's anytime that people try to keep pressuring you when you try to say no, and they're like, oh, come on, why not, please, like they'll try to say things like that.
They don't sound manlier when they're saying yeah, but come on, then they're just throwing an emotional tantrum like a child.
Yeah.
And also that's not sexy.
Yeah.
That you want to talk about fucking mood killer? Do that shit.
Yep. Because what is sexy is actually asking for consent. You can do it in a very sexy way, but try to be like, but come on.
It's also sexy when a man respects when a man respects your answer of no. He's like, that's okay, babe. We can just hang out on the couch and do this instead and cuddle or whatever. I'm like, oh, wow. A man who respects me saying no. Holy shit.
And that's, that's actually one that I don't think we wrote this down, but there's something important is that let's say that you're not in the mood for sex, but you want intimacy. You want your partner. You want to be close to your partner. You want to have a partner that you feel safe with doing that, because some men will be like, oh, you just want to cuddle. And then as soon as you start cuddling, they'll start like moving their hands and trying to get you in the mood. That's also coercive, even if they're not using words, but they're taking this time, this vulnerability where you want to be intimate with them in a non-sexual way and trying to turn it sexual is also coercive behavior.
Oh God, that's my entire college experience. Yeah, but it's
I will admit, I have done that. I have done that in the past. I've absolutely done that in the past. Where it's like, oh, let's just go watch a movie, and then like
one thing leads to another.
you have your hand on the back of her neck, and you're just kind of tracing the back of her neck, and just kind of, and then she starts to get turned on, and then you're like, oh, look, I convinced her, and it's not good behavior.
Yeah. Oh God, man. I think you can do that and it be sexy, and then it can turn it into those things. But if your main intention for doing small gestures is to end up getting fucked or getting laid, you're wrong.
Well, right. Like if you ask for sex, they say no, and then you're like, oh, let's
Go
just sit on
back.
the couch, and then you start doing that, then you're doing it for the wrong reasons. If you're just laying there on the couch and you guys are like, hey, let's snuggle and watch a movie, and you're just kind of slowly is happening, you're not doing it for the intent of trying to convince them to have sex. It's just a thing that's happening naturally, and that's a big difference. That's like anything, and I think that as we talk about coercion, people could start getting really like sensitive about it. Well, what if I come home and like, and he's like, oh, I want to give you a massage, or I turned a hot bath on for you, and here's a glass of wine for you, or whatever. Like if I come home, is he trying to coerce me into having sex? And I think you have to look at basically the intent. Is it something where they want to make you happy, and they're not trying to tie that into having sex? They're just like if it happens later, great, but I'm not putting that on you.
I want to make you feel special.
Yeah,
Then that's why I'm doing
you
it.
deserve this. You had a hard day. Go soak in a bath. I'll bring you wine. Here's your true crime podcast you can listen to, and
you can kill me later. No,
yeah, exactly. And I'll be around. I'll be around. If you need anything, just let me know. Or is it I'm going to give you a hot bath so that you get in the mood, and then I'm going to get you, I'm going to be sitting here and trying to make sure that you finally want to have sex, and I'm going to convince you about it. Then that's when it's not a good behavior. So you have to really pay attention to the differences.
it's just like when they're spending a lot of money on you.
Yes, exactly.
It's the same behavior. They're just doing, it's just acts of service.
Is it like, do they actually like you, or are they love bombing you? And so it takes, it's a subtle thing, but you have to pay attention for that. So let's talk briefly about like some of the reasons. I just want to kind of touch on
why you're doing it, why you're being coercive.
Oh no, not why you're being coercive, but why people don't want to have sex. Like why is it that someone might not want to have sex? And I think that there's a variety of reasons, but it's important to keep in mind if you're someone whose spouse is not wanting to have sex with you, is it you? Maybe like it might be you. Like if you're constantly trying to coerce them into having sex, then yes, it's probably you. Or if you are a man child who has to do chores because you can't see what needs to be done around the house, or you bring a paycheck home and that's all you do, and you expect your household to be taken care of, then yeah, it's probably you. You're probably such a just garbage partner that your spouse is sick of you, and she is no longer sees you as a sexual object. She sees you as another child, and she doesn't want to see a child's dick, so that's why she's not interested in you.
Oh my God, you're not wrong, but damn, okay.
But beyond that, there's a variety of reasons someone might not want to have sex.
It's just this, I think it's a there's everyone has a lot going on. So if your self-esteem is low and you just don't feel great about yourself and you don't want to really get intimate with someone, valid fucking reason. If you're stressed at your job, if you're dealing with a lot of anxiety, if you ate something after dinner and you're not really feeling great, those are all reasons to just not have sex, and they don't want to have sex with you. Also, if your sex life is really bad and they just don't have sex with you, and you aren't trying to communicate and trying to make it better, you're just going to continue on with the terrible sex. Yeah, I don't want to have sex with you then. That's not that I'm not getting turned on. So why are we going to do this all the time? I don't want to.
Yeah, I mean that's so true. There's so many reasons, and so many of them might not have anything to do with you. And so the important way to find out is communication and talking to your partner and asking. And if you truly genuinely love somebody that you're with, you would think that you would actually want to find out why they're not happy, what's wrong, what can they do, what can you do to alleviate that, not to get laid, but just to make them a happier person. Like how can you help them on the path to happiness, and what can you do to make things easier on them instead of trying to guilt trip them into getting your dick wet.
And sex isn't everything in a relationship. It is part of a relationship.
Exactly.
And so yes, that one thing might not be happening, but you both might be going through, and that's the other thing too. You could personally be going through shit yourself and think that you want to have sex or you're ready for sex, but what you're actually projecting to your partner is that you're way too stressed, you're not in a good mental state. And they're like, no, I don't. You, even though you say that you want it and I want it, I know you can't right now. Or let's focus on fixing your anxiety or your depression right now. Like, let's not use sex as a way to cover up other issues in our relationship or things that are going on.
Sex does not fix a shitty relationship.
Yeah.
And if you try to do that, that's never going to work. And I think that's really the communication is, and once again, we have an episode that, we were wrapping up and saying that communication is the key, that
it's sexy. Communication, consent is sexy. All of it's sexy.
And you're not, like, if you're with somebody that you care about, talk to them, have open communication with them. If you're lacking communication already, then there's probably a variety of reasons why you're not having the sexual communication that you want as well, because your other types of communication are probably flawed. So focus on those, and that might improve everything, or it might, end your relationship.
And it might break everything up.
That's
but
okay
that's
too. Like, that's okay too. You don't. Why would you want to be somewhere that one of both of you are not happy? So, in the end, though, it is important to realize that like sexual coercion is assault. Someone who, and I understand sometimes it can happen kind of by accident, it can be whatever, but coercion is assault. It is someone forcing you to have sex against your will.
I'm just uncomfortable talking about this topic right now.
Yeah.
I'm just like, just a lot of those things have happened. I'm really fucking uncomfortable right now. And it's not like what's in my relationship now, but like all of those things have happened in my past. And one of those has led to my rape that I'm just like, I just didn't know.
Right.
I just thought I was being a good person to date. And that was what was going to label me as like someone who was attractive and a good person to date, I guess. And so I just let things happen because I didn't have a voice, and I just didn't, and I like every statement and every situation in some way, shape, or form has happened to me. Mm-hmm. And like multiple of those situations led to my situation. And it's like, I wish I could go back and like tell myself, like, have the conversation. Don't worry about if they like you or not.
Right.
Make sure you like you and you like the decisions that are being made to your body. Make sure that you're comfortable voicing your feelings and expressing your boundaries, because none of that other shit fucking matters. What they think of you, who gives a shit? It's if you feel comfortable, whether you're in a relationship or not. You don't have to keep this facade going just for society to say, oh, you're in a relationship with them. Yeah, but my sex life, we keep having sex and I hate having sex with him and I feel uncomfortable, but like, at least we're together. Great. Right. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah. I never considered it like a lack of consent. It was just
a lot of people
because it wasn't a no. It was a like, oh, I guess. And I guess I kind of said yes. And I guess I put myself in this situation. So the burden is on me. It's never on the person who does it.
Right. That's how, and that's what makes it so insidious, is that it makes you feel guilty when you should have full bodily autonomy. And it's such a lot of it can be so subtle, which is why I think that like doing a full episode on this was important, because as like coercion is it can be so subtle. It really can be. And it really is one of those things, like you said, you didn't think it was you being explicitly forced because you said no. It was just these little things that kept like manipulating you into just going along with it because it's just easier to get it over with.
But it's like before Master of None, it was every fucking guy I dated in some way, shape, or form. And when I say like it's not all men, I'm really just saying it's just not Master of None, because every other fucking guy used some form of manipulation and used these lines to get their dick sucked or to try to have sex with me or to keep the relationship going, or whatever. And it was like, well, do I want to be single forever? Well, do I want to get out of the situation I'm in? I'm sick of being alone. I'm sick of doing whatever. Well, I guess this is what it takes to not be single anymore, is just kind of drink a couple more drinks and just smile and and don't really say anything. And people don't like women who are bold and who have boundaries. So just don't be any of those things. And yeah. And I don't know if you've seen it on TikTok of the women that compare their 20-year-old photo of themselves to a 30-year-old version of themselves. And the 20-year-old is all like she dresses for men. She looks like she'll, say yes to men and appease them or whatever. And then the 30-year-old version of herself is like, yeah, I know my boundaries and you won't fucking fuck with me.
I don't think I have seen that,
No.
but I kind of love that idea. Well, and I had somebody that we were having a conversation and we were talking about like sex and things like that, and her life, because she has kind of an odd life, and I had the idea of virginity came up and how it's kind of a dumb concept. It's not a real concept, but I was like, man, we're talking about when we lost ours, and then she said that she lost hers to someone who assaulted her, and she didn't realize that it was assault until watching my TikToks and seeing the ones I'd done about coercion. And she just hadn't even realized in her mind the whole time. She was just went along with it because it was just easier than trying to get him out of her place or whatever. And I was like, it's so horrifying. So I'm hoping this episode will at least, if someone hears this and is able to think to themselves, oh, maybe this is something that's happening to them, currently, or like you, where, every date they've been on, someone's done something like this, that they will no longer stand up for it.
Yeah, it's knowing the tactics that some of these people use and saying, oh no,
right.
Fuck you. Fuck you for saying that. Fuck you for throwing another drink in my hand. I said what I said, and we're done with this conversation now. And it's also being strong enough to go, if I draw this line in the sand, they might not want to date me or see me anymore. And I have to be okay with that because this is the best choice for me.
Yes, I agree. And then we actually came up with a few resources for people who maybe, if you have, if you feel like you're in a relationship that you can't get out of because it is coercive and abusive and toxic. There's a few. These are all, I think, U.S. based, unfortunately. But so if you're a U.S. listener with who needs some resources, do you want to?
Yeah. You can call the National Domestic Hotline at 800-799-SAFE, which is 7233, or text START to 88788. You can call, sorry, I went upside down in this order. You can get in touch with Love is Respect by texting Love Is to 866-331-9474, or calling, there's a lot of numbers here, or calling 866-331-9474. And this organization is an offshoot of the National Domestic Violence Hotline. It aims to support teens and young adults experiencing relationship abuse or toxic situations.
And you can also call the RAIN, which is Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network Hotline, at 800-656-4673. So there's some resources. And of course, we're always a resource too. You can always email us at datingkindofsuckspodcast@gmail.com. You can call, obviously our hotline, if you have questions. We can't provide resources like they can, but we can answer, any questions you might have.
We can talk it out on air.
We can talk it out. 407-519-0181.
You can also join our Facebook group if you would want to share publicly and talk about your experiences on there. That is facebook.com/group/DKS podcast. And if you happen to look at Adam's TikTok, his is at Adam Heath and mine is at @simplysarahg_. Adam focuses more of his content, obviously, on dating and relationships than do I, but
yes,
take some of his advice and maybe that'll also resonate with you as well.
You can watch us if you want, of course, on YouTube, youtube.com/datingkindofsucks. We're at Instagram at datingkindofsucks. And if you do appreciate the content we put out there, you can always support us for $5 a month at Patreon at patreon.com/DKS podcast.
And with that, I think that's it.
We'll be back. We'll be back next week. Ideally,
no, we won't. No, we won't. No, we won't.
Oh, Sarah's in Guatemala.
I knew you were going to say that. No, we don't. No, we won't. I'm taking a 1-week vacation because we struggle to find guests every week. So it's been us 3 weeks.
We just have done poor job planning and getting. We could have plenty of guests. We just haven't done we haven't done planning. But who knows? Maybe I'll be back with an episode next week while Sarah's in Guatemala. Just do something. I don't know. Testing out just me talking for an hour. You never know.
You do like your rants, so
I can go on an hour rant about whatever. I'll just give me a topic. We'll see. We'll so if we're not back next week, we'll be back in 2 weeks. But thank you for listening.
Until next time.
Whether you're married or single or poly or ace, or hanging out with swingers back at your place, listen to us as we give no fuck on Tinder and Bumble and plenty of yucks, trying and having no luck, because we all know dating kinda sucks. Sarah and Adam are two of a kind. He says stupid shit and she doesn't mind. They're not doing this show to make any buck. Life as a chicken whose feathers they pluck. Why does it work? Well, here is the crux. They both know dating kinda sucks. Dating kinda sucks.